This is Scott Spears, and I'd like to welcome you to a very special edition of Scott Spears Now. March the 1st, 1994 was a hugely historic day in the history of Marion, Ohio. It was the day that the 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, was sworn in as Treasurer of the United States by Vice President Al Gore. A lot of people from Marion made the trek to Washington to see that happen. A lot of people listened back here. It was an exciting event, hugely exciting. Maybe one of the most historic days, if not the most historic day in Marion County history. Certainly of that era, it remains that. Here we are, March the 1st, 2024, 30 years to the day, and the city of Marion is coming out to celebrate this monumental anniversary is really what it is. Mary Ellen will be speaking at 4 schools, 2,500 students in Marion County over the course of 2 days. She will be at Harding, the school of which she graduated. She will be at River Valley. She will be at Elgin, the school at which she started her political career as the first woman on the Elgin School Board in 1969. And she will be at Pleasant. And there's going to be a reception, all kinds of good food and drink at 3:30 on Friday, March the 1st. It is going to be exciting. 30 years to the day, and a radio appearance on Thursday morning, going back, looking at the career and everything that happened. What fun this is, Mary Ellen. 40th Treasurer of the United States, one of my favorite people. And I think, as I said the last time you were here, probably the guest who's been on my show the most often, but somebody who I could never get bored with because we always have a good time.
We do.
Yes,
I always enjoy it.
Now, Mary Ellen, here, one of the unique caveats to this day is that you are going to be at all 5 of these events. You're going to be reading the speech that you read 30 years ago on that date, March 1st, 1994, for the first time in 30 years. What's it like to go back and look at that and think about reading it in front of these big groups?
Yes, I'm a lot more relaxed. I was very concerned about the speech. I knew it was a good speech, but you know how it is when you have something as important as that. And so I can remember the crowd and everything. We had a huge crowd there. All of my family was there, everybody.
What was that day like in general? What did you get up thinking that morning? Did you sleep much the night before? Was it anxious? What was it?
Oh, I was anxious. Yeah, I was very anxious. And I was so glad my family was there. And that made me feel better, you know, having them always. They always came to everything. They came to everything except my very first swearing in as county treasurer. They weren't there. But no, it was a very exciting day, and we had a reception across the street at Hotel Washington on the top floor. It was the sponsor was Save the Penny People. There was the Save the Penny People, and then there was the people that wanted to get rid of the penny.
And we've still got it.
And we still, so they did their job.
They did their job. We've still got it.
Yes, and when I was in office, the penny cost less to make it than what it was worth, but now it costs more than what it's worth. So anyway, it was an exciting reception, and then the weather got terrible. It started to have a snowstorm, and everybody, and I signed money. That's all I signed money. I bet I signed $1 million.
You know, the people who came from Marion, were you surprised when you got there that day to see how many people were in the room?
Well, no, I knew it was going to be a huge crowd, but and all the state treasurers were there too, and a lot of the people in Congress, and of course John Glenn and the people that I really was glad to see there. I mean, that's exciting when you see them.
How did it come about that Lloyd Benson would be one of the speakers, Vice President Gore would swear you in? Was that all handled internally?
Yes. it was well, Marshall Bennett was president of the National Association of State Treasurers, and he was the other person. And then I always had felt I wished I had had John Glenn speak, but they had set it up the way they did because the man from Congress was had a top position in Congress, and so I guess that's the reason it worked out the way it did.
Now, when it came to the speech, how did the speech come about, and how early was it starting to be worked on?
I don't know. It was done by a person that I didn't know, that evidently knew me, and he did a marvelous job on it. And I saw him again last summer at Dick Celeste's get-together that he had, and I talked to him, and I said, "Can you still write speeches?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "If I need a speech, will you do one for me?" He said, "Sure." And so anyway, it was a speech that it isn't very long, and I think everybody will enjoy it.
When you first got the speech back in '94, when you get ready to give a speech, do you practice it? Do you go over it? Do you change anything?
Yeah, I make it mine.
Yeah.
I have to do it that way. It has to sound like me, and yeah. So you work at it. You go over it and over it and over it. Yeah.
When you got up to give the speech that day, what was it like? Vice President Gore had just sworn you in.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any special nature to the Bible that you were sworn in on?
It was the same Bible for everything I was sworn in.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, do you still have that Bible?
I do.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was my Bible. Yeah. Same person Norman held it every time.
Every time. Yeah. And you know, I think that should be mentioned certainly on this anniversary, because nobody was more supportive of you throughout your career than Norm, your husband, for so many years.
Right.
How happy was he?
Oh, he was at his finest.
If you watch the video or look at the pictures, he's smiling.
Yes,
he's having a good time.
He's got a big grin on his face.
It must have been great to watch his wife progress through all of that.
Well, I tell you, he watched me in the very beginning, and I remember, I think I was giving a little something at Elgin when I was running for the school board, and he said, "You want to smile once in a while." And then, after that, he said, "Well, you smiled in all the wrong places." And then one time in Washington Courthouse, he said, "You know, when you read your speech, you sound different than when you just say your things." And he said, "You've got a different delivery." And I said, "Well, that's interesting," and I can understand that. Yeah, but he was very helpful to me, and you know, he was with me through the whole thing.
So he was kind of an advisor in a way.
Yeah, yes, he was. Yes, he was a good advisor too, because he was honest about it all. You know.
You know, is it hard as you go up the ladder to find people who are not just there to be there, who will be honest with you and say, "Mary Ellen, that wasn't right"?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What is it about that? As the more successful you get, people tend to be, "Oh no, that was good," even if it wasn't.
Yeah, I know. I tell you, I was a basket case in the beginning. I was a shy person. I don't know how I got, into it the way I did.
It turned out great.
Yeah, it turned out great, and I love giving speeches now. I mean, for the last 40 years practically. I mean, when I started, it was rough, but I just really enjoy it.
When you got to be state treasurer, by that point, were you comfortable giving speeches?
Yes, although I'll tell you, when you go from one office to another, the things you're used to talking about, of course, were Marion. And so when you go to the state, you've got to be talking about Ohio. And so that's difficult. You gotta remember to say it in the order that it is. And and then of course when you go to the federal, you got to go to the national look at things, and it's very hard to do that.
And that's an important part of all this is that I remember, even in your speech, you mentioned Marion. And a lot of people, you had become state treasurer, now you were treasurer of the United States. A lot of people forget that. It's not a big part of their makeup, where they came.
No.
It always was Marion native, from Marion. You mentioned it, like I say, in your speech. That was always very positive for the people around here. Was that conscious and important for you to do that?
Yes, and they all, everybody came to see me.
They did.
Yeah, and the schools all came. It was amazing.
I want to talk about something because I want to get to the schools visiting, because that's a big part of this. But just because it's there and it's become part of history, if you look at the pictures that day, and it is in your museum, the dress is there. How much thought went into what you were going to wear that day, and would you ever dream that the dress you picked out would be in a case at the Historical Society forever at this point?
No, I never thought of that. We've discussed where I bought that dress, and I'm not sure I'm correct, but they think it was Jacobson's in Columbus. At first, I thought it was something else, and I think I might have said that, but I think it was Jacobson's. It's no longer there, of course. But I saw the dress quite a while before the ceremony. I wanted to be prepared, and
And it lives on there, and it became a big part of the day. I think mainly because there were so many photographs that day and so many news stories that it's just part of the day along with everything else now.
Yes.
People are funny about clothes.
Oh, they are. They pay attention.
well, when you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Ohio, a lot of what they have there are clothes that people wore.
Oh, really?
So I guess it's one of those things, but it's there, so that's good. Wanted to talk about when the schools would come to visit, because during your tenure from 94 to 2001, many schools, most every school I think in Marion, made a Washington, D.C. trip in the 8th grade. And the schools would go to Washington, and of course when you were there, that was a stop. And I have talked to so many kids who are now in their 30s and 40s who, when the tour went to see you, they thought, well, you might wave or come out, that they have pictures with you. You came out and talked to them. You signed money for them. You were very gracious with your time.
Well, I really enjoyed it when they came. They would come, most of them came to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and I would go over there and I'd have to step up on this platform with Abraham Lincoln and talk to them. But I remember also that they would have events at Treasury, and River Valley came to Treasury, and when I came out, I never heard so much phones and everything going off. It was just like an explosion all around the room, and the kids laughed at it because it was such an event. And then I had my grandchildren's school come, and they were in Akron area, and I didn't recognize the name of the school, and they were not in the class that came. And as I was walking out, this was at Treasury, as I'm walking out of Treasury, they said, well, Chris and Aaron would like to have been here, and I thought, oh my God, that's their school.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting point, though, because when you became Treasurer of the United States, your kids were older and on into life, but your grandkids were young. What was it like when grandkids came to visit Grandma as Treasurer of the United States?
Well, we would take them to the White House. We'd really we'd have a good time. We'd go places where they wanted to go. And I remember Gigi was all over the White House. She was standing behind the drapes, hiding, and she was in the kitchen. And and the man at the Secret Service man's name was Withrow.
Oh.
And he took good care of me. And he was I think from West Virginia. And I forget his first name, but he was great.
Yeah. And that is a once in a lifetime experience, certainly that most people don't get to live. I was talking with somebody the other day, and it's interesting because we had President Harding, who obviously was known nationally. That ended in 1923, and we really had a bad spell because of all the bad publicity that came along with President Harding in the years that came after that. And then in 94, here you came, and it really was something positive for Marion in politics when it had been negative for such a long time.
Yeah.
And that really was pivotal that all turned around.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and you know something? The fact that I had my name on the money, everybody could remember about it. So many people go to Washington, they have a job, and nobody can remember what the name of it is. But mine was a job that you can remember mainly because of the money.
You know, there are a lot of things with your career that are interesting. First of all, that you were so kind and visible to people. Also, as you said, everybody likes money. Name on the money. And you have a very distinct signature to this day. But also 40th. People can remember that.
Yes. Now, I was the 42nd treasurer of Ohio. I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's also my understanding, because I was just recently looking at a video of the swearing in, and Lloyd Benson pointed out, who was the Secretary of the Treasury at that point, that the Treasurer of the United States position was around before the Secretary of the Treasurer.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Well, there was a treasurer before there was a president.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Right now I can't think of his name, but yeah, you know, the money for the war, they had to have somebody take care of the money, and so they had a treasurer, and it was official.
You know, it's also interesting that we look at that day, and it was also a big day for women. I think little girls and even women who, you know, were in their middle ages, 30s, 40s, could look and say, you know, I can start in Marion, Ohio, and go to the top of my profession. That was very important.
Yes. And you know, that's why I have my museum. I want people to understand that you can do this. I mean, I'm an example that I came from nothing, and I did this. And for people to understand that, it gives them encouragement.
Well, the things people have written about you are fascinating, groundbreaker, always a positive message. I don't think I've ever seen a bit of negativity when it came to Treasurer of the United States. It was just always positive, and boy, that's a good message. Because a lot of times, in the Hillary Clinton case and other cases, women get wrapped pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, I hate to see him pick on Nikki Haley, too, even though, you know, I'm glad she's in there, really.
You know, that's interesting, because she's a Republican, but any woman running for office you like to see.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I don't think I've honestly ever asked you this. I've asked you specific questions about President Trump, and you're on the record with those. But specifically when he went after women, whether it was Rosie O'Donnell or Megyn Kelly,
That's right.
being a groundbreaker for women, specifically when he would target women as it was laid out, how'd you feel about that?
Oh, I I can't tell you how I dislike him.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, what do you have any idea what it is with women that particularly bothers him? Or certainly women in power, it seems to be.
Yes, I always wondered about him and his mother. His mother was in a hospital most of the time, and she wasn't there to take care of him. And I don't know, he had kind of a strange childhood.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been. You know, something else that's interesting. People get confused. What was the job of Treasurer of the United States? What was your job?
I had oversight of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing and oversight of the Mint, and I marketed the savings bonds. And the Bureau of Engraving and Printing had two locations, Washington, D.C. and Fort Worth, Texas. And the Mints had 5 locations, Philadelphia and Denver and San Francisco and West Point and Fort Knox. So that was my job, and it was pretty much the same since Reagan was president. And now it's changed a little bit. The current treasurer is not over the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And that would be a big disappointment if I was there, I know, because that was a lot of fun watching the currency being made.
There's a newspaper article that I ran into while doing research here, and I should have brought it today, but it was during that time, right before you were nominated to be Treasurer of the United States, but it was either going to be run for governor, or Treasurer of the United States, and you spoke somewhere, and I don't remember where it was, but the headline was, "My options are terrific." And do you remember that?
No.
It was an interesting article because I thought those are 2 good roads at that particular point. So
yes.
how did you go ahead?
What newspaper was it?
I think it was a local paper. It was I think it was either the Marion Star. It may have been the Dispatch. I'll have to show you that article.
Okay.
It's a good article.
Yeah. Okay.
But at that time, what finally swung it toward Treasurer of the United States?
Oh, I wanted to be in federal government. I had wondered all along what federal government was going to be like, and I wanted to experience it.
I only bring this up, not to come back to clothing or anything, but we live in an interesting world right now where men and women tend to dress down. We wear a lot of tennis shoes, we wear a lot of jeans, we don't really dress up for occasions anymore that people used to dress up for. You also had 40th Treasurer, all these things we've talked about, but you had a distinct look. You always looked well put together. The white hair, you stuck out when you were there. You looked like somebody important. Was that purposeful on your behalf?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to look good.
Yeah. But what would go into, for maybe women or men at this point, what goes into a wardrobe when you're in a position like that? What do you want to do?
Well, you have to think about what you're projecting to other people, and you have to look like you belong in the job. And it would always bother me when I saw people that were in elected office that weren't dressed well.
Like today, here we are 30 years later, when we go speak at these schools over the next 2 days, have you given thought to what you're going to wear?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'll look okay.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll be the best looking one there. There's no doubt in my mind. The only other thing I want to, because a lot of people, we're a very interesting society, and if you look at a lot of women now, they dye their hair. I mean, you never really did that when you were on. Did you ever give any thought to dyeing the hair?
I did.
You did?
I had brown hair.
Really?
Yeah, and we had an accident at the beauty shop one day, and it was blonde. I had it streaked.
Really?
Yeah, and when she fixed the streak, somehow she got all over everything. And I came home and I hid in the closet because my kids came home from school, and they said, "Oh my gosh!" They were all excited. And and from then on I was blonde.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was blonde?
Yeah, it was blonde.
Oh,
yeah.
That's interesting.
And then I can't do that anymore because the medicine I take makes my hair turn red.
Oh.
So, and a strange color of red. And so I had that happen at Lazarus. Yeah. She accidentally did something and I had all this red hair. And we had to get rid of it.
That's an interesting story.
Well, it was quite a time, yeah. And then it got so Norman and I would use the same color on both of our hair, and he had the same color I had.
It always always looked good.
Yeah.
Nobody could tell.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Why is that, do you think, that we Phil Donahue, I was talking, because he always had the big white hair.
Yeah.
And I asked him one time, I said, did anybody ever ask you to dye your hair when you were in television? And he said, nobody ever did. But he said, I always thought when I went out golfing, if I get lost, they can find me in the field. I thought that was a good answer for gray hair. But do you think it's important for women, and now men for that matter, to pay attention to how their hair is, pay attention to the color, or have we gotten less into that at this point?
Well, you see a lot more facial hair on men now than you did back then. I really don't like to see it, and still, I don't.
They used to say men with facial hair had something to hide.
Well,
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, they had a contest here in Marion for sideburns one year. So Norman grew he won the contest. Yeah.
Well, we talked about the grandkids. What was it like for your daughters when you got to that level? Because they were grown women by that point.
Yeah, Linda and Leslie were married and Linda had 2 children. She had her second daughter when I was running, I think it was this first time for state treasurer. And Norma still isn't married, and Beck was a lot younger. But they were very excited about it. In fact, Beck had more experience with me than any of the others because she worked at the state level, and she would ride back and forth sometimes with me to Columbus. And she was in the Rhodes Tower. She was on the top floor, and I was on the 9th floor. And she would come down to my office to see me, and she said it was always a happy office. She said you'd come in, everybody was happy. And so that's sort of the way my older daughters had their own jobs, and Leslie was a nurse, and Linda was teaching x-ray, and Norma was in California, so she didn't really experience very much. And so it was something they were excited about, but Beck was the only one that experienced very much of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
When you came back to Marion, because we are going to be at 4 different schools tomorrow, I say 2,500 people in 2 days, that's going to be great. But you were in very high demand when you were treasurer, when you would come home for any reason. Boy, I remember the invitations would certainly come out.
Yes.
What was it like to speak to the kids when you were the treasurer?
Oh, it was great. I remember Ridgedale had me speak at their commencement. I was invited to speak at every commencement except Elgin's. I don't know what was going on there, but anyway, I spoke at Ridgedale's that first year I was in office.
That's interesting. Elgin, and where you started.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But we've got Mary Ellen Withrow here, and when we come back, we're going to have some fun, because I've got some pictures here that we're going to go through, and Mary Ellen will tell us what she remembers about some of these. Some are from the day, March the 1st, 1994, swearing in. Some are just assorted pictures from her time as Treasurer of the United States. It's going to be a lot of fun going through these. And then, I believe Mary Ellen, one of the greatest things are the recipe cards. We're going to learn how that all came to be, and Mary Ellen has brought, I believe, some of the original recipe cards.
Yes.
So we're going to take a look at those when we come back right after this. Scott Spears back with the 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow. Very special edition of Scott Spears now, recounting the 30th anniversary of Mary Ellen being sworn in as Treasurer of the United States, March the 1st, 1994, and we are on the eve of March the 1st, 2024. And it's interesting, I was just thinking the other day, the 25th anniversary of your swearing in, we all went to Tony Packo's together and you signed a bond.
That's right. Yes.
So this has become, at the 35th, we'll have to do something and Keep it going. It's a good day to celebrate.
Yes.
We have got pictures here. Now, Mary Ellen doesn't know what pictures I have. She's only seen one of these so far. So we're going to go through these, and I'm going to let Mary Ellen tell you what she remembers about these snapshots of her life, because she would be the only one who could tell us at this point. Now, this is March the 1st, 1994, and you're being sworn in.
That's right.
When you see that, what do you think? Your hand's on the Bible?
Yes.
Your husband's there? Al
Yeah.
Gore's swearing you in?
Right.
When you see that, what do you think?
I think that was a happy day.
It's a good picture.
It is. Yes.
That's a nice memory.
Yeah.
Now this one, this is a good one. Now I hope you can see this. We've talked about the people who came from Marion. This picture illustrates that better than any other one.
Oh.
This is a great picture.
Yes.
When you see all those people, Mary Ellen,
Yes.
that's a great day.
Yeah. They were all jammed in there.
They're packed in there.
Yes. And they didn't get my family. Oh, and there's my sister-in-law, Kate. She was sitting over on the other side there. It's interesting. She's the only one. Yeah.
Who made that picture?
Yeah. She's in the red.
Oh, okay.
That was Norman's sister.
This is just, when you think, I mean, that's a lot of people.
Oh, it was a lot of people. Yeah.
That's such a good illustration, because you don't see that in the videos.
No,
It's hard.
they said that I had the biggest crowd since, whose swearing in was it? The guy that was sworn in the first time there, right after the cash room was built. I can't think who it was.
Well,
Anyway.
that was a crowd.
Yeah.
That doesn't normally happen.
No,
Now,
usually there's about 4 people.
I know,
there.
about 4 people.
Yeah, up in the executive office. That's where they do it, when they have a small group.
This is one of my favorites, because I would guess probably the most well-known person there, who was the Vice President of the United States at that point, Al Gore. And I don't know if this is before or after. Mary Ellen will have to tell us, but this is a great picture of Mary Ellen and Al Gore, and he signed this. But is this before or after the swearing in?
I think it's before, in the room back. We had cookies. Somebody brought in cookies, and my family was all back there.
That's such a good picture.
This gal here was my press person, right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Her name was Hamilton. I thought, isn't that interesting? Her name was Hamilton.
That matches up with the money.
Yes, right.
And it says, for those who may not have been able to see it, for my friend Mary Ellen Withrow, Al Gore.
Yes.
Very nice.
So where you got that from, the Historical Society?
I believe that's where this one came from.
Uh-huh.
Now this one, again, this may be a better picture of the crowd, but it doesn't get the whole crowd, but it's a good picture. I like this one as well.
Oh, yeah, it's brighter.
That's brighter. Somebody used a
Yes.
flash on that one.
Yes. And there's Marshall Bennett and the guy from Congress and Al Gore. And they said, I requested Al Gore swear me in.
I wondered how
Yes. They were going to have Lloyd Benson swear me in, and I requested Al Gore because he was the reason I was there.
and people don't realize that you had supported Gore for a long time.
I supported him when he ran for president in '88.
This is Lloyd Benson. We don't have time to explain Lloyd Benson, but search him. He's a funny guy, funny sense of humor.
He was a nice guy.
But this is a good picture of Lloyd at the podium,
Yeah.
and he could give a speech.
Yes, he could. I remember we went to New York to give a speech about savings bonds, and he was talking about how he went to Russia and ate mouse lips.
Really?
Or not mouse lips, moose lips.
Moose lips.
Yeah, moose lips. And I thought, how exciting. He's got something like that he can tell people about. I said, I wish I had something like that I could tell about. But then I got things.
Oh, you did? Well, what's
Yeah.
the most interesting thing you ever ate?
Oh, I think a bird. It
Oh.
had feathers. Yeah,
Oh, while you ate it, it had feathers on it?
yeah.
Oh.
It was deep fried.
Oh.
Oh, God.
Was it good?
No.
No, I wouldn't think so. Now,
It was in China.
Now, this isn't the greatest picture in the world unless you really like it. I don't know who, but it's of that day. They shot you from behind, Mary Ellen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good picture.
Well, yeah, I've seen that picture a lot.
Yeah. Everybody else is smiling. That's good. I bet you were smiling in this picture
Oh,
as
I'm
well.
sure I was. Yeah.
But it's a nice picture of that day. Now this one, I had never seen this one. Now this is not of the swearing-in day, but the president was Bill Clinton, so it's always good to see a picture like this.
Oh, yes.
That's a good one. We always see the one of you at Christmas, which is a good one, but I like this one.
Yes.
I think that's a nice picture.
Yes, that was in the White House.
Is that at the White House?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, everybody always says Bill Clinton is such a likable man.
Oh, he is.
True.
He's really a nice guy. Yeah.
And I think there's another one from that day as well. We'll see if we run it. Yeah, here it is. Now, I'll tell you, this is a funny thing. Mary Ellen doesn't wear glasses anymore, but honestly, that was one of the things you were known for, was your glasses on the billboards.
Oh, that was way back when I ran the first time.
And this is the only picture I've really ever seen where Mary Ellen had her glasses on, and she's with Bill Clinton.
Those are weird looking glasses, aren't they?
I had never seen that.
I don't know that I ever saw it.
Isn't it weird how we look back over time
Yeah.
and say, what would you have picked those eyeglasses today?
No, but they were the thing back then.
Back then.
I was the first one to get the big glass. It was big glasses.
Big glasses.
Yeah.
But it was a staple. People noticed that.
Yeah.
You know, and your dresses, did you buy from the same type of store, same type of things?
I bought, right now I can't think of it.
They all look good.
Yeah.
Now this is a black and white one, but this is a lot of people this is swearing-in day. Oh, we see the cookies on the table.
Yeah, that's back in the room where we waited. Yeah.
I think your family is here.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
all
picture.
my family. Yeah.
That's a nice picture.
Yeah.
I don't know how some of these ended up in black and white. Now, this is not from the swearing-in day, but I'm not even sure where this is from, Mary Ellen. You'll have to tell us. But this is an interesting group of pictures. Looks like you have a gold coin there, and we're pressing something.
Yeah. I think I created a coin. Yeah, I probably did. I probably made a coin. I'm showing it. Yeah. Here's your pen.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Now this just will tell you of the time. Now this was done for the Cincinnati Post, I think, and it's a cartoon, and it says, "Oh my lucky day, a Mary Ellen Withrow."
Yeah.
That's a funny cartoon.
It is cute. Yeah.
And that will just show you the popularity at the time.
Well, everybody was anxious to get my money, you know.
Yeah.
They kept watching for it.
Now this was an article, and it's a good article if you get a chance to read it. New treasurer slated to be sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very good article. And that was a picture you used a lot. Was that the picture,
Yeah.
state treasurer?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Let's see here. We get through these. Now these are two. This is with Al Gore, but I think earlier in probably your career.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was when he was running. Yeah.
And he ran for president in
88.
88.
Yeah.
And you supported him.
Yeah. Yeah, I supported him financially too.
Now this this is you, I believe, pressing the money from that day, that coin. And I think that's inauguration day. Or swearing in day, I should say.
Yeah, it is. I don't know where this other one is. It's probably, it doesn't look like where they make the money though. I don't know.
Were you around a lot of machines like that's a big machine
Yeah.
that makes the money?
Well, it's about the size of a telephone booth.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now this is historic because this was the Marion Star the day after you were sworn in. Withrow becomes 40th treasurer below the fold, March the 2nd, 1994. That was the picture that ran. But that's the newspaper article that ran on that day. Mm-hmm. That picture was in a lot of newspapers that day across the country.
Yeah.
You know, and that's also, treasurers usually don't get that kind of attention, but you did. Mm-hmm. That was a very good thing. And those sweatshirts became a big thing.
Yeah.
The bucks.
Yeah.
Now this one, I wanted to get the story behind this. This is an interesting, it's a newspaper article. And this is from, I think it says here, the 1996, this would have been during Bill Clinton's re-election campaign. 1996, I believe it's the convention. And you're with John Glenn.
Oh, yeah, it is the convention. Yeah. Yeah, we're in a happy state.
Well, I say that's an interesting, to have people in your delegation.
Dave Leland.
Oh, Dave, but I mean, John Glenn and Mary Ellen Withrow out there in the Ohio group, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What kind of guy was John Glenn?
Oh, he was great. I'll tell you.
People loved him.
Yes, yeah.
Now this is the last one. Now this is the one that I said I had never seen before. This is from Swearing In Day. But I think this is, because it's the only picture, you've seen the other pictures from that day, that is of Mary Ellen by herself. It's from the side. I just like this picture. I think it's a great picture. And I'd never seen that before.
Oh, yeah. I have seen that picture. Yeah.
I like that picture, Mary Ellen.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
What is going through your mind at that point?
I don't know. Probably
Happy thoughts.
probably telling them about the reception that's across the street, because the applause went on for so long. I thought they were never going to quit, and I wanted to tell them to go across the street to the reception. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice picture of that day.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary Ellen, the recipe cards. How did this come to be?
Well, I watched what other people passed out when they were running for office, and my friends and I decided that recipes were the thing, because nobody throws them away.
That's true.
And of course, Bucky Reinhardt made fun of me passing out recipes, but I said, people don't throw recipes away.
And back then, everybody had a recipe box. They were very, and I bet you there are still people who have these cards around.
Yes, because one of them was brought to Primrose the other day from somebody that had died.
Is that right?
And they brought it to Primrose to show. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
And the head nurse had it, and she was tickled to death to get it.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
see, they're collectibles now.
Yeah. And I don't know. You want to show these?
Yeah, I want to show. This is very nice. Mary Ellen Withrow, State Treasurer. Easy recipes for today's two-income family with a two-apron kitchen. That's nice, and a lot of. Now, are these your actual recipes, Mary Ellen?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
A lot of these on here. Very nice. Do you have a favorite recipe?
Oh, I've got quite a few of them, but I don't cook anymore. Now, I want to tell you, Norma was in graphic design. She did this.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I thought that was nice.
That is very nice.
Yeah.
And now this has got scalloped corn, cheese balls, summer sea salad, Norman's potatoes. How neat. State Treasurer.
And that was my first recipe.
Oh, this is for Marion County Treasurer.
Yeah.
Boy, this goes
Way back.
way back.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Capable hands for Marion County's purse strings.
Yeah.
That
That was my theme. Yeah.
Now that's a unique. What year would that have been, Marion County? Was that the
Marion
70s?
No. Yeah, it was 76.
76.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did great thought go into the recipes you put in here?
Yeah, those are really my favorite recipes. Every one of them. Those are family recipes.
Now, I remember we talked at Christmas, and you said your family wanted you to make the chocolate icebox cake. But
Yeah,
you said you don't do that anymore.
Well, if I do, I've got to have somebody help me beat it, because it takes too much energy. I can't do it anymore. And so I did. I made it last year.
Oh, you did do it?
Yeah, I made it last year, but I didn't do it this year. I made chocolate cake German chocolate cake this year.
You know, maybe it was from the women's club. That's what it was. I was talking to somebody from the women's club the other day, and they had said that when you were young, you took an art class there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this about you. You painted some very nice pictures.
Mm-hmm, I did, yeah. Yeah, I had a show at where was it? At the Marion Women's Club Home. I had a show in, probably about 15 years ago.
They're
Yeah.
very nice.
I had to find paintings that are all over the country, really. Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating when we think about this, because you were right. Buck Reinhardt, who was running against you when you were running for state treasurer, made fun of these recipe cards, but now they're collector's items.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, was this your idea?
Yes. Yeah.
Because nobody throws them away.
Nope.
That's interesting.
I remember the guy that printed those up for me visited the treasurer's office all the time. I don't know why, but anyway, he did the brochure.
Is there a favorite part of the speech? I know you have the speech with you. Is there a favorite section of that?
Yeah, the ending.
The ending?
Yeah, my life is like a river winding down through the years. Yeah.
Did you ever think that you would be here 30 years after?
No, I didn't.
And doing great.
Yeah, I had no idea that I would be doing this, and it's great. I just appreciate it so much that you and whoever else was working on it did to do this for me.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people really are so happy for what you have done for Marion. It's so great. And somebody said to me this the other day, and boy, if it isn't a true statement, you could have lived anywhere. In 2001, when you
Yeah.
left office, you could have lived anywhere. You could have lived in any country, any state. You would have been fine. But you came back here eventually. And I know it was for your family, but did you ever think about living anywhere else?
No, no, I didn't. I wanted to come back here. Yeah.
What was it like living in Bethesda?
Oh, I liked Bethesda. I liked it there. We stayed, another 10 years
Yeah.
after I was done. And, yeah, we had a good time there. But then, one of my good friends died, and then another good friend moved away, and I thought, we're coming back to Marion. Norman was getting worse, and I thought, I got to get back to Marion, and yeah.
In that 10-year period after you were out of office, but you were still in Washington, did you still maintain, I know a Republican was in office at that point, but did you still go to parties and things of that nature, stay in touch with people?
You mean here?
In Washington.
Oh, in Washington? I went to the swearing in of Rosie Riaz and the U.S. treasurers that followed me while I was still there. She was a good treasurer, and she's still very active. Most of them were a lot younger than I was. Yeah.
You know, that's also an interesting thing. We talk about what you did for women, and we certainly talk about what you did for people in Marion, but, as you say, you were a little older than most people were
Yeah.
when you got that office, but you had the energy, the stamina, and it was fine. So really, I think one of the great things is that you're a role model for people who maybe don't know what they want to do in their 20s. Because you started a little later in life.
I did. Of course, I had 4 daughters, and they kept me busy. Yeah, and I don't know if I would have ever run for office if those 2 treasurers or those 2 teachers hadn't come and asked me to run for office.
Do you remember who the teachers were?
Oh, yeah.
Who were they?
They were Loma Mills and her sister. Loma Mills had been my teacher in the 6th grade.
Really?
Yes.
Do you know why they came to you?
Well, they wanted somebody to run on the school board that they thought would do a good job. Yeah.
Were you active in PTA or anything?
Yeah, I was very active in the school. Yeah.
When this opportunity came along, when these 2 teachers asked you to run for Elgin School Board, what were you doing at that point in your life?
Oh, I was very busy. I was in a lot of stuff. I was in a lot of clubs, and I was collecting for United Way and doing all that stuff. I knew where all the boundaries were in Green Camp Township, yeah.
Well, it's interesting to think back on this. if they hadn't come, as you say, you don't know if you would have run, and then who knows what would have happened. But do you ever think about what else you would have liked to do with the rest of your life at that point?
Well, I was working at the Red Cross, and I was teaching swimming and first aid, and I enjoyed that. Yeah,
I bet that was fun.
yeah, it was. Um, and the lady that ran the Red Cross said I'd be running Red Cross one of these days.
Did you have any? I don't think we've of all the things. I don't think I've ever asked this. Come to think of it, did you have any jobs in high school or in your 20s aside from Red Cross?
No, Red Cross was my first job, and I felt like I'd been let out of prison when I could eat lunch downtown. If you want to know how I felt.
If I want to know how you felt about that. It's such an interesting time because do you think it would have been different had you started in your 20s, started your political career?
Yes, because I tell you, everything fit because, my husband was retired by the time I went to Bethesda, and it all worked out time-wise, and my daughters two of them were married, and the other one had moved away, so I only had one daughter to worry about, and I think it was fine when I started when I did. I don't think I thought about that. A lot of people thought I got into politics because of my father, but I said no. He died when I was 26, and I didn't get into politics till I was 39. He had nothing to do with it. And so...
39. Now that really is, honest to goodness, that is inspirational when you think about it. Because, in those days, really, the life expectancy wasn't that long.
No, it wasn't.
And
no.
you were 39 when you started.
Yeah.
And you got to the highest level.
Yes.
25 years.
Yes.
Did it seem like 25 years? Did it go by fast?
It went by fast, and I really enjoyed it, all of it.
If you had run for governor, do you think you would have won?
Who knows?
You were very popular at that point.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know whether I would have won or not, but I think my life would have been a lot more difficult. But I had good people. I had good people that were with me that would have gone with me to it,
At that point, when they approached you to run for governor, which I think was before the opportunity for Treasurer of the United States came about, what were you thinking? You were in your third term, I think, as Treasurer of the state of Ohio. What were you thinking you would do next?
Well, I had a fundraiser for running for governor, and the same day I had a call from Al Gore, and it stopped right there. Then there was no more. I was totally absorbed with going to the federal government.
Did you ever find out why they chose you?
I did, from the fact that I don't know really why, but he said he wanted people like this, and this, okay. And I think he wanted people that would be active and creative.
Well, if you look at Bill Clinton's choices for people he put in positions, it is interesting. You were treasurer. Madeleine Albright was Secretary of State. Janet Reno was Attorney General.
Yeah.
A lot of very powerful women who we all know very well. How often do we remember the Attorney General or even the Secretary of State?
Yes, right.
They were all very...
Well, yeah, you always remember the Secretary of State, though, really.
Well, it's interesting. You remember Hillary Clinton, but, could people name the Secretary of State now?
Oh, gosh, I guess you're right.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
I rember Colin Powell. You remember...
Who is it?
Hillary. You remember...
It's some guy.
Condoleezza.
Some guy that's been over in Israel I don't know how many times.
He's been around. But there are certain ones that you do remember.
Yeah, right. I had trouble remembering Nagalvi, or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Well, we talked about women earlier. What advice would you give to somebody who maybe is 30 and thinks, well, boy, I'm doing something I don't necessarily like doing. I don't know what I want to do. What advice would you give to somebody like that?
Well, do something they like, because you don't enjoy life if you're doing something you don't like.
Do you think the career path you ended up on extended your life?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think the happier you are,
Yeah.
the longer you live.
I think so too. I'm happy.
Yeah. At this point, when it's interesting to reflect back, and anniversaries are a good time for reflection. When you reflect back at your entire life on this 30th anniversary, what do you think about?
I think about what a great day it was, and I thought they can't take it away from me now after I was sworn in.
Do you think of your life as luck, or is it the way it should be, or how do you think of it?
It's a lot of everything.
Roll up.
It's a lot of luck, a lot of hard work. I worked so hard running for office. You don't know how hard I worked. Yeah. I've about killed myself. Yeah.
When you left under those auspicious circumstances of the 2000 election, and just look that up, that's too long a story to tell here, between Al Gore and George W. Bush. But you would have stayed a little bit longer had Al Gore had already talked to you about that. Did you ever think, because in 2001, you could have done something, did you ever think about doing anything else in politics at that point?
No, I had to have my hip replaced.
Oh, okay.
I had that done. And then I was limping, and it was bothering me a lot.
But you did, I remember you were very involved in Hillary Clinton's first presidential run. That was a heavy one.
Mm-hmm.
And but then you supported Obama when he got the nomination.
Mm-hmm.
And you were also involved in Biden's run. I remember a few speeches. Do you still, here we are in a presidential year, if somebody would say, Mary Ellen, listen, Ohio is leaning Republican these days, we need some, would you go out and do something?
I would if they asked me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's
if I could.
Yeah. What would you tell people? Why should they vote? Because you know Joe Biden.
I do, and I've got the reasons why anybody should vote for a Democrat rather than a Republican. There's a million reasons.
Is there one that sticks out in your mind?
Roe versus Wade.
That's going to be a big thing this year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that might tip this whole election?
Yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with it.
It's a fascinating thing, and it is interesting, the span of your years, because if you think about it, when you came to the Elgin School Board in 1969, Roe versus Wade was not a thing.
No.
And now, in your lifetime, it got overturned and now legalized in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's ever going to be the law of the land again, or is it just going to be states' rights at this point?
Well, I think a lot depends on who wins for president. I think if we don't get the right person in for president, it's not going to be a happy time.
If you had to think of one word to describe yourself, what would it be, Mary Ellen?
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. As I said, I'm happy, so
Happy. That's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are all happy, and this is going to be a great 2 days celebrating the 30th anniversary of the swearing in of Mary Ellen Withrow as Treasurer of the United States. And this picture says it all. That was a picture that we all saw back here in Marion, and you got to remember, this is the early days of cable television, 3 channels, no real internet in this day and age, and everybody in Marion was proud of what went on that day, and it's great to celebrate the 30th anniversary of it.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
For this episode of Scott Spears Now, Scott Spears heading for the dugout.